This is different. Okay, check this out. The first ever Acura MDX Type S. Yes, they finally introduced a performance version of the standard MDX. And today, we're gonna review this and talk about what this thing offers, if it's actually worth the money, how does it compare to other competitors, like for example, the GV80 or the Lincoln Aviator, and most importantly, when I take it for a test drive. It's my first time driving this thing. And in the future, we'll be able to drag race this because the owner, Nick, which goes special thanks to him for allowing us to review this because Acura Canada doesn't have one yet. So we had to borrow this from Nick to actually review. And most importantly, I'm going to show you and talk about his own take because he's owned this for a while now, what he likes and what he doesn't like, and in terms of the MPG as well. But first, let's talk about the exterior, what this offers and how different it is from the standard MDX. Let's start with the exterior here. First, the front end. Here's an important thing. Because this has a different engine, more powerful, turbocharged as well, this requires quite a lot of air. So the engineers at Acura have changed the fascia at the front. The grille over here, look at that. It is an open concept. So that way, it really gets more air from this side. And then we have this glossy black exterior, more aggressive look in comparison to standard MDX. And then we have the Type S badge located right at the front. But this part over here doesn't stop there. Let me pop the hood and let me show you exactly what they have managed to bring more air into the engine. So the air goes through into here, and then we have a grill at the top. And if you look carefully, the design over this side, we have the scoop that brings the air in to this side over here. So the entire design is better for better aerodynamics, and also for that turbocharger. It requires a lot of air. One thing I noticed that when I reviewed the standard MDX, which uses a V6 as well, there was so much space in here. But now it makes sense because this is more powerful. This is technically the same engine shared with the TLX Type S. Much more powerful than that standard V6 you'll find in the MDX. Now, how does it drive? We're going to talk about that as well. Let's move on to the side. Let's talk about some more details in terms of performance. This year, they've offered Air Ride. Yes, based on the driving modes, this thing will lift itself based on if you have it in the standard mode or if you have the Sport Plus, which is introduced for this model, which is the highest mode you can get. And we have 21-inch wheels, this sharp looking wheels. And most important, the Type S MDX get this beautiful glossy black color that you see on the fender. Now, the owner says that he doesn't like that glossy black because it leaves a lot of fingerprints, which I understand. And then we move on to the actual mirrors as well, glossy black as well. We have a Type S badge. The Type S badge is everywhere pretty much in this car. Now let's move on to the back and let's talk about some other design features. Another Type S badge in the back, and then we have quad exhaust at the bottom, both sides with active valves. So based on the driving mode, it changes. But one thing I must say is that it actually doesn't sound as aggressive, and I'm sure the owner agrees with me. But then we have the beautiful diffuser, give it a more aggressive look as well. They have made this look very different from standard MDX. Now, in terms of that first impression, is this one of those cars that really pops out? I wouldn't say so because it's not completely different from a standard MDX. Now, if you know, you know. From the back though, you'll know that this is a Type S because you can see the quad exhaust. Even though you own one of those MDX and you put the fake ones, this is very noticeable. And most importantly, there's Type S badges everywhere in this car. And the other thing is that the colors specifically to this car only are offered for the Type S. But then in the MDX standard, you don't get, for example, the yellow tiger color that is offered. This one has that beautiful red exterior. Now, let's talk about the interior because that's where things change a little bit as well. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, So the new MDX Type S, the first ever technically, does have massage seats. So as you're driving, you get to enjoy a bit of a massage. They're actually quite nice. They're not too rough. You can change the massage seats and you can change the level. And what they've done is that they've offered the 3 options for the seats right here. So you have the ventilated, heated seats, and most importantly, you have the massage seats for both passengers in the front. Oh, that's impressive. Oh. Okay, I'm just gonna turn them off because it sounds like very sexual. But let's talk about the interior. First of all, the steering wheel. We have that beautiful flat button to give it more sporty look. We have the beautiful stitches, red stitches, which kind of matches with the exterior. When you turn on the cluster, it says Type S as well to let you know that you are in a Type S MDX. In terms of the infotainment display, this doesn't change much from the standard MDX, but this is the highest trim you can get, which offers you the Air Ride. Based on the driving mode, it will change the height. You get ventilated seats in the front, heated seats, Android Auto, and Apple CarPlay. Now, one thing that I can't complain that apparently the owner got used to it is, of course, the infotainment display with the trackpad in the center over here. I am not the biggest fan of this car in terms of that. In my opinion, this could have been a lot better, but it takes time to get used to it, and I'm sure some owners don't mind it at all. But for me, I've had cars from Acura before with this kind of system, and I just don't find it as comfortable and as very user friendly. But other than that, this has fully loaded options from 360 cameras. You have different driving modes. In this model, you get a different driving mode, which is the Sport Plus. That is the highest, which changes the dampers, changes the steering input, it changes the entire performance experience. Once you go into Sport Plus, changes completely in my opinion. On the exterior, this also offers big brake kit as well. Three-liter V6 single twin scroll turbocharged engine, making 355 brake horsepower at 5,500 RPM, 354 pound-feet of torque at 1,400 RPM at 5,000 RPM. Now, the engine is technically shared with the TLX Type S. That's where this engine is coming from. So it's very similar to that. The transmission, it is a 10-speed. It is the super handling all-wheel drive used. It's the 4th generation super handling all-wheel drive. It's used the same in the TLX. So what they did in here, they took the engine from that TLX Type S and put it into this one as well. So you get better performance, you get better shifting. The 10-speed, although it is what they use in many other Honda and Acura vehicles, it is much different. It has 40% downshift capabilities faster, 30% upshift capability. So you're shifting faster in comparison to a regular 10-speed. That's the difference in this car. Now, the outside, you do see 4 exhaust tips, quad exhaust in that case, 2 on each side, but they don't sound as great. It does sound on the inside a little bit better, and I'm assuming it's because it's probably getting pumped through those speakers. It's so throaty when you push it down. You can hear the turbocharger from here because it's a twin scroll. You can hear the whining thing. It sounds like a supercharged, but much lower toned. The shifts are there for sure. Let's do it in manual mode. Downshift into 4th, into 3rd. It doesn't let me do it in manual mode. It only allows me to downshift in manual mode, but you can't upshift faster. It just goes itself once it reaches a current RPM. I can see the boost in there. It's so performance oriented. Even the cluster, when it turns on, you see that Type S. The comfort level is there. I noticed that ride suspension system as I'm getting massaged as I'm driving. This thing, it's very different from a standard MDX. The engine has been completely retuned from the standard V6. When I first saw the current generation MDX, I saw that massive gap in the middle when I popped the hood, and the reason is very simple, is because they left that specifically for this, so that it can use that space for that turbocharger area. It's so different in many ways in comparison to the standard MDX. Even the way you drive it, it feels more compact, more stiffer ride when you put it in transmission, and of course the driving mode in Sport Plus, kind of have to hold it all the way through to put it in Sport Plus. The transmission feels so much different. There's a bit of a reduced delay in shifting. That's the way I see this thing. You put the foot down and it goes, it reacts quickly. Mind you, this is a very heavy vehicle. It's a 3-row SUV, so the 355 horsepower might not be very enticing to you and not really what you expect, but also this is not at the level, let's say, at a BMW X750i or a GLS 63 AMG or even a Durango Hellcat for that matter. This is more settled, it's more conservative, because what this does is quite impressive. You see, the owner said that when you have it in regular mode, he's getting about 9 liters per 100 kilometers, but then you switch into Drive Sport Plus, then he said he spends about double that. It shows almost 16 liters or so per 100 kilometers, which is insane. But here's what this has. It has a cylinder deactivation. And what that does is that it turns off 3 cylinders out of the 6. So that way you're only working with 3. But the beautiful thing is that it does it so smoothly that you will never know that it's working in 3 cylinders. That's how crazy this thing is. And most importantly, what they did is that they reinforced the engine mounts so you don't feel the vibration as much. When cars go in 3 or 4 cylinders, Chevy has done this before, the Cadillac cars have it, where you're only working with 4 cylinders instead of 8, in case if you have a V8. This, what they will do, it's basically turn off the 3 cylinders so that you're only working with 3. That way you're not burning as much fuel. That's why it's able to achieve such fuel efficiency, because of that cylinder deactivation option that this offers. I don't know if the Type S TLX has it. I don't remember very well, so don't quote me, but I know this one for sure has that system. The exhaust in the back, it is an active exhaust valve, so meaning that when you turn it into sport mode, it basically changes and becomes a bit more aggressive. But to be honest, from what I heard, this is not as aggressive. Can it be fixed? Absolutely. There's probably options out there that you can go and make it even a straight pipe option on it, so and make it more aggressive sound. That can be fixed. Exhaust sounds can be fixed. It's very easy, especially in today's market, and most importantly, because the TLX Type S has been in the market for a while now, you will be able to actually change that, because there's probably options they can sort of retrofit that system into this. It is a quite impressive 3-row SUV. It's actually better than I expected. I was I thought I would be disappointed by this car, but I think they have done something quite different here from what I expected. It's put the foot down and this thing just goes. It's not by any means, even the brakes are amazing in this thing. The brakes are Brembo brakes. It has braking performance from Brembo, which uses 4-piston in the front red calipers, and the rotors that are 14.3 inches in diameter and 1.2 inches thicker. And it increases the braking performance by up to 5.3%. The idea here is that while you have that extra horsepower, you also need the braking to back it up, because you're going down the road and you're going fast and then you brake, you want to be able to slow down the vehicle. It's a heavy vehicle, therefore it requires, it's not just the performance side. The ride in sport mode, it's stiff, you can notice that, but that's what you want from that performance level. Some vehicles tend to have a very soft ride even when they're in sport mode, and I will use my own IS 500 that in sport mode it actually doesn't change much. you can hear that that exhaust sound coming through the speakers. You feel like it's actually through the engine, but it's mostly, in my opinion, you can tell that it's pumped through that. The beautiful thing with this car is that the interior offers so much tech features, minus that trackpad, which I personally am not a fan. The owner has gotten used to it. You have beautiful 25 speakers audio system around. The audio system here provided by the ELS Studio 3D, which it's been used pretty much in most Acura vehicles at this point. In terms of a comparison to the other models out there, like the GV70, the Aviator, this, in my opinion, separates itself from that because it is more sporty on the outside in comparison to the GV80. The GV80 is where you meet more luxury than you have sportiness, in my opinion. This, on the other hand, the interior feels more luxurious yet a bit sporty. The exterior, it's more sporty than it is luxurious. It might not be the easiest thing to recognize on the roads, being a Type S, but in my opinion, once you look at the back, then of course you'll understand it. But if you know, you know. Now, let's talk about the numbers, because that's where things get quite interesting. The numbers in Canada, well, this starts at $83,000. That's for the fully loaded one. This is the fully loaded that we have for today's videos. Meanwhile, we have other vehicles. The GV70 starts at $77,000 for the highest trim. Meanwhile, the Aviator looking at $84,000. But the Aviator in the US is more expensive than this. So that's where this kind of wins a little bit, because you're of course getting more horsepower in the Aviator. You're getting a plug-in hybrid in the Aviator, which gives you green plates. But this, on the other hand, is slightly less expensive than the Aviator, but almost at the same price as the GV70. The GV70 also has to do with looks, if you actually like that aggressive grille. This, on the other hand, it's a bit different. Now, let's talk about the ratings. Exterior-wise, I'll give it a 9, because they have done really nice work in terms of giving that aggressive look to this car. From the brakes, from the grille, from the rear end, all that put together. Now, interior-wise, I'll give it an 8 because they could have done a little bit better. Like, for example, the seats don't have any stitching that says Type S. I don't see that. That should have been there. I know it's everywhere in the car, the front, the door panels and all, but that could have made the car a bit special. You come in, you're welcomed by that logo that you know you're in a Type S. The seats are comfortable. I give it an 8 because I think that massage seats provided in this one really help that next level luxury. You have cooling seats as well, heated seats. In terms of performance, I'm going to give it a 9 because I think it handles very well in corners. It handles very well on the road. You can tell the difference between the standard mode and the Sport Plus in this car. That's for sure. But I wouldn't give it a 10 because the exhaust sound, really, it's not there. It's there on the inside, but on the outside you don't hear it as much. But again, that can be fixed. In terms of the pricing, I'll give it an 8 because I think they could have made this more aggressive in terms of the pricing. But what's going to help the pricing on this car is the value in the long run. I think, in my opinion, this is going to hold the value far better than the GV70 or the Lincoln Aviator, because they don't make as many. And here's the other problem you're going to face with this car. If you want to place an order for this, well, it's going to take some time because they're sold out. And the problem with the semiconductors, well, they're not widely available. And if you order one, you don't know when it's going to come. And hence why the owner almost actually dropped the order on this car. I think they've done a great job on this in terms of the whole package. They've done a good job, in fact, not a great job, but a good job to put together a car that is good for day-to-day, that has a bit of performance, that it looks like a performance vehicle. And it drives like one too. The difference between the standard MDX to this, it's there for sure. So if you're trying to compare those two, it's there. The difference is there in terms of the performance, in terms of the sound, in terms of the ride quality. You put this thing in comfort mode and it turns into a civilized vehicle. The ride quality in here with the air ride, it's quite impressive. It's soft, it's enjoyable. For long trips, this thing is an absolute joy. We're going over the railway, nice and soft, but it's not too soft that you feel sick like a boat. It's just almost there. And of course, the height changes based on the driving modes. I like this. I actually like this. I actually like this more than the TLX Type S because you got everything in this thing. 3-row SUV, bit of performance. Why not? The TLX Type S, on the other hand, is just a bit more, just a heavy car. In this, you don't expect this to do 0 to 60 in 3 seconds or 4 seconds. It does 0 to 60 in like 5.1 seconds, but it's a good package, actually. It's a good package. I like it.